Good evening, everyone. I'm Philip, and this is another episode in my motivational series called How to Fly with a Clipped Wing. And what I had in mind so far for these videos is to release some motivational content that can show you some of the different things that I've experienced as I've gone through life after my life-changing spinal cord injury in 2006. And I share these things with you in order to help give you some perspective, I think, and insight perhaps into your own life and what you're able to accomplish as well. And for one thing, my hope is that as you watch these videos, you realize certain things about yourself. Certain things like that you've got a whole lot more power to cause change than you might otherwise think. That whether you've got people at your job that are stressing you out really badly, if you're a student going through school and you can't seem to find the motivation to change some bad grades into great grades, if you're a senior citizen and you don't know how to cope with the stresses of declining or degrading muscle memory, or if you're an amputee as well, or someone suffering from paralysis or post-traumatic stress and don't know how to get your mind back on a positive, stronger, healthier track, and whether you fall into any of these groups or you find yourself in a different grouping that can still use some motivating words, the hope is that you can take away some ideas from my videos and realize that not only do you have more power to create change in your life than you might initially think, but that you have the power to find your own inner peace, your own inner happiness and self-respect. You have the power to influence others as well, to love themselves and to influence others to live healthier lives and to take more positive control of their lives as well. And so far in the videos that I've been releasing, I've shared with you a few things, a few ingredients you can say, ingredients that I found work for me to achieve inner peace and inner happiness and respect for myself and others, and to achieve purpose in life that previously was just riddled with emotional and mental dysfunction and negativity and aggression and really hopelessness. And these things really took the wheel, you could say, as I allowed my paralysis and my chronic pain and anger to control who I was and how I behaved. And the best thing about all these ingredients to overcoming things like this is that you're completely in control of how much of each of these ingredients you choose to incorporate into your life. And for me, I found there to be 5 different ingredients, or what I call the 5 P's. And the first P is patience. And in my experience as an amputee and as someone who's gone through the years with chronic pain and paralysis post-trauma, is that it all comes down to your ability to be patient with yourself. Not just with others, although that's really important too. You've got to take the time to do whatever it is that you're trying to do, or else you're just gonna go crazy. If you feel your mind start to get frustrated because things aren't happening super quickly, or because you're not doing things as fast as you think you should be doing them, you got to nip those thoughts in the bud right then and there and realize that patience with yourself to do whatever you need to do for as long as it takes you to do it will help keep your mind focused and will help you stay in the present moment. And being in the present moment is itself really important and relates to the second P, perspective. You've got to keep a healthy perspective on at least a few different things. You got to keep a healthy perspective on how far you've come, for example, instead of wallowing in thoughts of how much work might be left. Being mindful of the future and learning from mistakes in the past are both really important, but in my experience, nothing is more important than living in the present moment, in the here and now. And by keeping a healthy perspective on things, by being mindful of things and being receptive to opportunities that often present themselves in the present moment, you don't allow yourself to waste energy focusing on things that get in your way, such as negativity and irrational fears. And this brings me to the third ingredient, or the third P of positivity. If you're going to take charge of the circumstances in your life, negative thoughts and feeling hopeless or incapable are examples of roadblocks that are put up by yourself and no one else. After going through my own personal rock bottom period of time, brought on by the anger and aggression and sadness after I paralyzed the upper left portion of my body, I realized something. I realized that no one can make me think negatively except for me. I realized that you got to reject negativity and be positive. You got to be positive in the sense that you're enthusiastic about overcoming whatever obstacles you might need to get through, but positive also in the sense that you are positively certain that you can envision yourself achieving whatever you need to achieve, whether that's studying for longer in order to get better grades, researching more information in order to put together a solid, watertight presentation to some associates at your work, getting outside to walk or jog in order to lose weight, or whatever it might be. The fourth P, which I'll talk about today, is perseverance. And this one is super important as well, because without the desire to endure, without the desire to work hard at incorporating these other four life ingredients for as long as it takes, then the other efforts are pretty much pointless. If you got the right intentions and you realize that these elements can make a difference in your life, but you're also willing to throw in the towel at the time that your efforts matter the most, lacking that perseverance, then the system hasn't failed you, your boss or your workload hasn't failed you, your friends and support groups haven't failed you, you have failed you. And this was a really, really tough thing for me to learn coming out of this rock bottom. And the last P is passion, and I'll elaborate on that next time, but essentially that means to constantly seek the deeper reasons to do the things that you're doing, and to seek the meaningful reasons that drive you toward achieving a goal to begin with. But for the rest of this video, I'd like to return the idea of perspective, because I think that this one is so crucial and so pivotal. On my website, howtoflywiththeclippedwing.com, I talk about the first few years after my spinal cord injury and how frustrated with life I was after I had completely paralyzed my whole left arm and my chest, my shoulder blade, and all that. And not only that, but with a paralyzed arm, I was abruptly and physically unable to do the physical activities that I love to do, abilities that I associated with my own identity and that I used to cope with other really heavy things going on in my life over that previous year. And it's safe to say that during this extreme roughness, my life was lacking patience and perspective, positivity and passion, but the thing that affected me perhaps the greatest was my inability to keep trying to relearn things before I gave up as a result of not having the other four ingredients in my life. I had to relearn how to do everything, including the basic things like how to shower, how to dress myself, how to adjust my balance as the muscles in my arm deteriorated down to the bone, how to type, how to cook, lots of things. And there wasn't a single thing that I successfully adapted to without first putting in the time and endurance to keep trying and trying and trying, even when it seemed like I'd never be able to do something. In fact, on the lighter, less practical side of things, I even learned to play video games with one hand. And I'll definitely make a video about this in the future where I'll focus on that specifically, because it's pretty cool. But essentially what happened was that after incorporating the other four P's into my decision to do whatever I needed to do to relearn to play video games so that I can play with my friends, the main thing was the time that I needed to put into practicing every single day. And it might have been a little bit every day because of other things that were going on, but every day nonetheless, whether it was 10 minutes a day or 2 hours a day. Every single day for 6 months, I practiced playing video games one-handed with the obviously two-handed controller. I tried situating the controller in all different kinds of ways, positioning my hand in all different ways. I tried different controller sensitivity settings. I tried different button layouts and different methods of pressing the buttons with different parts of my hand, like areas of the palm, among trying lots of other control techniques that I could think of by keeping an open mind. And actually, the one thing I wasn't prepared to persevere through at first, but I ended up needing to get through it regardless, it was just unforeseen at the beginning, was the amount of cramping Holy crap, the cramping in my hand was just outrageous. So much cramping because of all of the hand contorting like this for so long, day after day. But it was worth it to me because honestly, first off, I love playing video games. And so for this reason, I was tired of being restricted to only watching people play games and watching them have a great time with each other, playing on teams with each other, or playfully rivaling against each other. I was tired of being right there with everyone, yet being the only one in the room who was physically incapable of having the controller passed to me when one of my buddies was ready to hand the controller off to the next person. And after putting in that solid perseverance, it wasn't long before I could play with them and surprise the hell out of them, or whoever else I was playing with. You know, that a guy with one hand could at least give them a challenging match in games like first-person shooters or role-playing games. And in case you're unfamiliar with these, or what these are, they can be tough video games to play with one hand because they require both camera looking and movement of the character, both controlled independently, each with their own control stick. And then on top of that, you've got 14 other possible button commands on the controller to deal with in order to have any kind of decent shot at surviving in video games like those. And one of the greatest things, and this has happened definitely several times, was whenever I sit down at a party or something like that where people might have been socializing and playing video games, who people I hadn't met yet, and then asking if I could sit down and play with them. Sitting down to play a difficult first-person perspective game with someone who was just like looking at me with one functioning arm, like, sure. Not of course not aware at all of the preparation of hours and hours of and perseverance that I had put in order to be able to play. They just see this one-handed guy randomly sit down with them trying to play, thinking that they're going to need to play with all this pity and sympathy, when in the worst case scenario, I would end up doing really well, and if I didn't win, which sometimes I actually would. So, good times, perseverance. And over this next week, I'd like for you to be as mindful as possible about the necessity of perseverance and endurance. Remember to try to be more patient with yourself and with others. Keep that healthy perspective, maintain that positive mindset, but mostly remember to keep pushing towards succeeding in achieving your goals no matter what. Remember to not only keep trying, but more specifically, keep trying to constantly incorporate the other P's into your everyday life. Sometimes perseverance doesn't mean to keep trying the same thing over and over and over again, but it means to keep trying to achieve your goals, even if that means trying to approach it from all different angles and trying different methods. That's what needs to be done over and over again. And in the meantime, please don't forget to check out my website and my YouTube channel. Share this video and be sure to like my Facebook page, please. Thank you so much for the support that you guys have been showing for my motivational stuff so far. It's really, really uplifting to me. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time when I share more thoughts on how we all can learn to fly despite our clipped wings.